How's it going, everyone? Today I'm going to be ranking every single state I've been to in the United States. So I've been to 31 of the 50 US states. I apologize for anybody who's from the Northeast or the South, as I really haven't hit those regions that well, especially the Northeast. I haven't been to any Northeastern states, but I've covered most of the Midwest, half of the South, and basically all of the West, minus Alaska and Hawaii. So let's jump into it. And by the way, some of these, I've just driven through them, so it's going to be based on my experiences, not on what the state is like. Because people are going to comment saying, oh, this state's better than this because of the politics or something. But this video is not based on politics or the economy at all. It's based on my experience. So, kicking things off, we have South Carolina in last place. The only reason why I put this in last is because I drove through most of the state when it was pitch black. So I really don't have any other choice because I really can't put a state that high if I haven't seen much of it. But for the part where it was light outside, I just saw endless amounts of rural poverty in like the central part of the state. So there's not really much else to say about that, but Charleston seems like a decent place. Actually, it seems like a good place. I meant Columbia's decent place. But yeah, I've been on a couple interstates throughout the states. Next up, we have Nebraska. Countless farmland. I've been on I-80 throughout the whole state. Nothing really to see. I mean, there's just smaller towns out in the west, like North Platte, Lexington, Grand Island. Well, Grand Island's actually not too small, but it's decently small. But Omaha and Lincoln seem like nice places to live, but there's not really much to it in terms of scenery. Next, we have Iowa, and the only reason why Iowa is better than Nebraska is because driving down I-80 doesn't take as long. I've also been to the Quad Cities for a baseball tournament, and they're not really anything special. This picture in the bottom left is Des Moines, and Des Moines seems like a decent capital. I mean, I'll go there maybe someday, but most of the state's just farmland. In 28th, we have Oklahoma, and Oklahoma is just a tornado alley. I was only 8 when I drove through the state, so my memory isn't the greatest, but kind of like Iowa and Nebraska, it's a lot of farmland, but I thought it was a bit nicer than the other two Midwestern states that I just went through. In 27th, we have Indiana, and I've been all over Indiana because I live 20 minutes from Indiana, and it's not really anything special. I mean, Northwest Indiana is kind of crappy. Like, you got places that I've seen better days, like Gary and East Chicago. Even Hammond isn't really the best place to live, but Indianapolis Metro, the suburbs I was in were really nice. I was in Fishers, and I forgot the other one, but they were both really nice places. South Bend really isn't a great place in my opinion. And then I've just been on some interstates throughout the state, like I-90 and I-65. Next up we have Missouri. I don't really like Missouri that much, to be honest. And I'm surprised I didn't put it lower on this list because just not really nice for me. Like, the Gateway Arch seems cool. I've seen it before, but I've also been at Branson, and Branson, it's not really my type of place. I do not like that city at all. I know people like travel there and stuff, but it's not for me. So Missouri's at 26 for this reason. Coming up next is New Mexico. New Mexico is actually a pretty beautiful state from its pictures, but I've just been on I-40, and I saw endless amounts of rural poverty. But there are some nice like desert landscapes throughout the state though, but I can't rank it that high when I haven't seen it yet. 24 is Virginia. I've only been to like a tiny sliver of the state in the western part because I drove to Florida this year that way. But it's very scenic. But I really can't rank it that high because I only stopped once there and it was at a rest stop, but it had a nice view. But the Appalachian Mountains are pretty nice, especially in Virginia. Next up, we have Texas. I've only been to Texas once, and I didn't go to many parts of it, so I just saw a bunch of farmland in the northern half, and Amarillo is a mediocre place in my opinion. Not anything special, but not too bad either. Yeah, I mean, I feel like Texas could be a little higher in the future if I go to other places like Austin, but for right now it's in 23. Next up is Nevada. I've been to Las Vegas twice, and I've been on I-15 when I was driving home from California, and US 93 because we drove from Las Vegas to the Grand Canyon in 2022. So I guess I've seen a lot of desert landscape, which is nice, but Las Vegas really isn't my type of city. I don't really like the vibe there, and it smells like weed everywhere you go, to be honest. So I don't really have a desire to go back to Las Vegas, but it's whatever. 21 is Ohio. I've been to many parts of the state. I've been on I-90. I've been in the Cleveland Metro. Cleveland's not the greatest city, but it's not the worst either, so I would go there again. Been a couple U.S. highways in the southern half of the state, and I was shocked that the southern half of Ohio was actually like really hilly and kind of beautiful. So Ohio actually kind of surprised me for being this high, but here it is. Number 20, Minnesota. I've been to Minneapolis once in the metro. Minneapolis was actually a pretty neat city. I thought it wasn't going to be like neat because of like all the stuff you hear in the news, but it was actually nice. And I've also been on I-90, but I-90 is just boring because it's just cornfields the whole drive. Coming up next after Minnesota is Kentucky. I've been to I-65, I've been on I-75, so a couple interstates, and I've spent a night in Louisville. Louisville was an okay city. I was not there for that long, but what is shocking is that Louisville has a really high violent crime rate that really isn't talked about much. But like places like Seattle, San Francisco, Portland, Los Angeles are all talked about having like really high crime and being dangerous. But if you look at statistics, none of their violent crime rates are even close to as high as Louisville's. So it's interesting to say that. 18 is North Carolina. So I've been to the very western part of the state. When I was whitewater rafting in the Smoky Mountains, I ended up crossing into North Carolina, which was kind of nice because I hadn't been there yet. But also when I was driving in Florida this Thanksgiving, I went on I-77 throughout some of the state and through the Charlotte Metro, and it was pretty nice. Charlotte doesn't seem like an awful city. I didn't go there, but based on my views, it has a decent skyline. Michigan is number 17. I've been basically all over the Lake Michigan coast, up to Holland. Grand Rapids is a nice city for its size. It's actually kind of safe for having 200k people. Lansing, I've been there once. It's very interesting, I guess, because you got East Lansing, which is like where all the college kids live, because that's where MSU is. But then you have like regular Lansing, which is nothing special. And then you got the Detroit Metro, which is I've been to once. It wasn't as bad as I thought, because Detroit's talked about being rough, and a lot of parts are, but downtown was safe enough where I could walk around. Number 16 is Georgia. I've been to Georgia many times, mainly driven through it on I-75, but I've also stayed in Atlanta in the metro a couple times. I've driven through Savannah as well. Atlanta is actually a really cool city, in my opinion, so I would go there if you haven't. Didn't really do anything in Savannah though, so I don't know about that. Number 15 is Illinois, where I live. So I've been basically everywhere in the state because I've lived here for 17 years. I just realized that. But the only reason why I ranked it this high is, well, I'm biased of course because I live here, but Chicago is by far one of the best cities in the country. Even though like the south and west sides are like the most dangerous places in the country, downtown is like a very cool place with like a mix of cultures. It's diverse. It's got an incredible skyline, and there's lots of things you can do there. I mean, the rest of Illinois is just kind of boring in my opinion, but I'm happy to live in Chicago, and that's why Illinois is number 15 on the list. Next up is Tennessee. Tennessee is a very cool state. Been on I-75, I-24, been in the Nashville Metro, stayed in Franklin, which is a suburb, and I've been in the Smoky Mountains. Smoky Mountains are very cool, and I like the vibe there as it's very different from where I live. Number 13 is West Virginia. Similar to Tennessee, it's very mountainous in the east, with the Smokies. Sorry, not the Smokies, I meant the Appalachian Mountains, but it's mountainous just like the eastern part of Tennessee. And on I-77, I mean, it's just beautiful. I mean, obviously, like, economic-wise, West Virginia is way behind basically the entire U.S., and people are living a slow-paced life there, but it's cool for them, I guess, and the state's beautiful, so it's number 13. Florida is number 12. I've been to Florida many times. Been on I-75 throughout the whole state. I've been to Fort Myers many times. I've been to Tampa many times. I've been on I-95 in the northeastern part of the state. And I've been to Florida Keys once. It's warm year-round and very humid, so I wouldn't live here because I don't like humidity. But it's a cool state to travel to. Watch out for alligators, though. Number 11, Washington. I haven't been to Seattle, so I don't know how Seattle is. I've been to Mount St. Helens. I've been along I-90 in the eastern part of the state. I've been on US 395, which is south of, it runs south of I-90 throughout like endless amounts of farmland in the southeastern portion of the state. South Central, I should say. So I've been also to the Tri-Cities. I didn't put that on the slides, but the worst McDonald's I ever went to was in Pasco, Washington. My family, we ordered 2 Big Macs. And Big Macs typically come with cheese. They don't put cheese on it. We ordered 4 hamburgers. They gave us 4 cheeseburgers. So that wasn't a good experience at a McDonald's there. But otherwise, Washington's a pretty cool state. Mount St. Helens is a nice place to go if you like beauty. Breaking into the top 10, we start off with South Dakota. The state wouldn't be anything without Mount Rushmore and Badlands. Those are some of the best national parks in the country. Otherwise, the rest of the state is just nothing. But Badlands might be my favorite national park, as it's just amazing to walk through. Number 9, we have Idaho. I know it's kind of high on this list for me, only going to the very small portion of state in the northern part, but it was just a beauty going through mountains. I mean, it seems like the place you don't want to be in the winter though, because if it's icy there, good luck even making it, because the roads are so windy up there. But I'd like to go to Boise, as I heard it's a very booming city, I guess. Number 8 is Colorado. I've been to Denver, I've been on I-70 and I-76. I was honestly shocked with Denver because I didn't expect to see so many homeless people. But it's not my favorite city, but it's also not near the bottom. But the western part of the state is really beautiful with a bunch of mountains, and I'd like to go exploring in that part of the state in the future. Number 7, we have Utah. I just like the red desert scene, and Utah has a lot of that, especially in the places I went to. It's just beautiful, and I want to go to Bryce Canyon as well, but we'll see what I do in the future. Number 6 is Wyoming. I've only been to the northeastern part of the state, so I haven't really done much. I didn't go to Yellowstone or anything, but stopped in some towns like Gillette and Sheridan, and they're nice places too. Friendly towns as well. But most of the scenery was the picture on the left, as it was just kind of hilly, kind of mountainous, and no people around. Makes sense why it's the least populated state. Okay, the top 5 is here. We start with California. Very controversial because I was born here and I go here quite often. And I know people hate California and stuff, but this video is not about economy or politics, so that's not going to affect how much I like a state. So I've been all over the state, too many places to count. My favorite place in the state, well, my favorite city is San Diego in the whole country. San Diego is a perfect city in my opinion. Great weather, great surfing, great beaches. I like Monterey as well. Sequoia is a cool national park as well, but I really haven't been to the northeastern part of the state. I know it's the most isolated part with no interstates there, but that's a place I do want to go to in the future. Just see what it's like. Number 4, Wisconsin. Wisconsin would be a lot lower on people's lists, but I like it simply because it's a great Midwestern state. In fact, the best Midwestern state in my opinion. It's the friendliest state I've been to by far. I have family here, so I go here quite often. Milwaukee's, it's pretty dangerous, I'm going to say that, but it's got some great food options, so Green Bay's a nice place. Central Wisconsin and southern Wisconsin are just farmland. Northern Wisconsin's just all woods, but I haven't been up there. Madison is the greatest U.S. capital, though. It's an amazing place to go. It's safe. It's got a nice college scene, UW-Madison, and yeah, it's just a cool place. Number 3, we have Oregon. I've been on I-5. I've been on I-84 in the northern part of the state. I've been to the Pacific coast, Astoria, Newport, Seaside, Tillamook. I like the scenery at all those places. I think Oregon has the best beaches in my opinion, even though it's always too cold to go in the water. For beauty, Oregon I think has the best beaches in the country. And then I've been to Portland as well, and despite what the news says about the city and how like it's just filled with homelessness and crime, it's actually one of my favorite major cities. I was there in July of 2023, and so it's kind of been improving since like COVID with all like protests and stuff. Not gonna get into that, but it was very clean actually, surprisingly, and I wasn't expecting that. But I was in downtown. I went to a Timbers game, and it was a great time. I went to a great restaurant. I didn't see like any homeless people. I saw more homeless people in the outskirts of the city, and I know like the eastern and northern parts of the city aren't great, so that's probably where most of the homeless people are, to be honest. But overall, I had a good experience there. So Portland is a good city in my opinion, and it makes Oregon the third best state. Coming in number 2, we have Arizona. I've been on I-40 in the northern part of the state. I've been to the Grand Canyon, which is probably my favorite national park, to be honest. It's amazing. And the Phoenix Metro. I mean, Phoenix is a mediocre city overall, but its suburbs help make that area one of the most moved to places in the country. Like, places like Scottsdale are like really nice. I was in Peoria, which is a nice place too. But you have ASU, which is a very big party school in Tempe. So the Phoenix Metro is pretty active when it comes to like people, and that's why it's a very big destination for many people. And number 1 is Montana. Montana is just everything you could ask for. You got the wilderness, which is just beautiful. I saw a lot of bison, which was cool. The mountains are amazing. What I haven't done is I haven't gone to Glacier National Park, so that's a place I'm gonna go to in the future. But there is some rural poverty in the southern part of the state. Like when I entered Montana from Wyoming, like the very first town I got to was like a really poor town. So there's poverty everywhere, even if you think a place is like very wealthy. But Bozeman is a really nice city, and I would go there again too. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what your intake is about this, or what your opinion would be on a certain states that I've been to, or you can just tell me what states you've been to or haven't been to. I'll see you guys in the next video. Leave a thumbs up and subscribe.